Now at 6, advocates came together for the National Vigil for all victims of gun violence. We have the details on their message coming up.
A portion of the capital city plunged into darkness. I'm Matt Carroll reporting. I'll tell you what happened and what was done to get the lights back on.
Despite a widespread electrical outage here in the capital city, the theme here at Hartford Hospital seems to be no power, no problem. I'm Julia LeBlanc and we'll explain how they kept things running coming up.
All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
6 o'clock, good Thursday morning. Thanks for being with us here at Fox 61 and Fox 61 Plus, America Areas.
And I'm Tim Lammers. Let's get you the forecast here on this Thursday morning. Right over to meteorologist Matt Scott. I know as the storm was rolling through, I think temperatures were supposed to spike for a while, but I don't know. I must have been inside for it because it was cold yesterday, cold this morning, you know.
You were inside.
Yeah, you missed it.
I missed it.
It felt humid outside the Scott compound yesterday for a brief time as the rain was coming down pretty impressively. I think we dodged some bullets. I mean, temperatures were up, the rain was just enough, and the winds were not so problematic. We're not complaining about that. We have a live look at Hartford and what you need to know before you go. The rain is done. The winds are slowly calming. Cooler sunshine taking over the next couple of days, a real hit to the numbers. And in the 7-day, going to talk about rebounding temperatures, at least by the end of the weekend. Satellite radar pictures got a few clouds out there. In terms of precip, the rain is long gone. The colder air is in. And you can see a couple of snow showers holding together across central and moving into northeastern Pennsylvania, upstate New York as well. We'll watch for that. All right, school bus forecast, 35 degrees now. Not a big swing on the thermometer in spite of the dominant sunshine that we have out there today. What's in store for the rest of the week into the weekend? We'll show you those small numbers coming up. There are some small numbers on your speedometers if you're on 691, probably closer to 0. We say good morning to Rachel Piscatelli for the latest.
Hey, good morning, Matt. We are following this tractor trailer crash on 691 westbound. Exits 3 through 5 is closed this morning because of this tractor trailer fire. We know that the tractor trailer fire is out. Your detour, though, they are going to be routing folks off of the exit here. So detour off of exit 3 to West Main Street, and then you'll get around Hubbard Park, and then you'll be able to jump back on to 691. A live look outside over in Meriden this morning showing you all of the activity that is there. So we know that the fire is out on that tractor trailer, but they have closed that interstate, and you can see those delays that are building back behind it now. I know it's kind of hard to see with all those lights, but that is the delay that is on your screen this morning. Tim and Erica?
Well, it has been almost 12 years since the Sandy Hook tragedy, and last night gun violence advocates and survivors from Connecticut were in our nation's capital for a vigil.
Fox 61's Lindsay Kane is live outside the state capitol with more on their message. Lindsay, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Since the Sandy Hook tragedy, the Newtown Action Alliance says more than 1.2 million people across the country have been killed or injured by guns. The vigil not only honors those who have lost their lives, but also the survivors of gun violence and their families as well. Now, the National Vigil was held in Washington, D.C. The Newtown Action Alliance, in partnership with 160 other organizations, held the event to unite everyone impacted by gun violence. Advocates say the country is experiencing a gun epidemic. They called on lawmakers to take action to reduce the number of deaths and injuries. This was the 12th annual National Vigil for all victims of gun violence. It's been held since 2013 on or near the date of the Sandy Hook shooting tragedy. This Saturday marks 12 years since that horrific day that took the lives of 20 first graders and 6 staff members. At the vigil, a graduate from Sandy Hook, Matt Holden, spoke. He says his generation is known as the lockdown generation. He says after the tragedy, he grew more and more frustrated.
Every day after, as I watch gun violence continue to take more and more from communities across this country, in Chicago, Las Vegas, Parkland, Oakland, Uvalde, Nashville, Appalachia, New York City, and beyond, I was confused, I was upset, I was angry, and I was utterly unable to do anything about it.
He says he's putting his anger into action through the Newtown Action Alliance as he continues to push to meet with lawmakers to address gun laws. Now happening here at 11 o'clock here in our state outside the Capitol, lawmakers will be meeting to talk about gun laws ahead of the marking of 12 years of the Sandy Hook tragedy. Live in Hartford this morning, Lindsay Kane, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Lindsay, thank you so much. Well, some Eversource customers are still without power this morning all across Connecticut.
Yeah, although they're not the only power company here by any means. Remember, Norwich Public Utilities is right in the area that was predicted to get hit the hardest. Here's Fox 61's Kayla Cade with more on how Eastern Connecticut fared.
About 600 customers of Norwich Public Utilities customers were impacted by the heavy rain and wind earlier on Wednesday. This caused some people to go to Harbor Freight to buy some items such as generators. Hours later, Chris Riley with NPU says power has been restored. When Dana Stanley worked his shift on Wednesday at Harbor Freight in Norwich, he noticed an increase of customers coming to buy certain supplies for their home.
The items they're buying mostly are tarps, lights, generators, and some pumps. One came in and said, I worked all day and I had to buy these lights because my lights went out.
That customer lives along Laurel Hill Road, just like Stanley, where they faced a power outage.
About 4 o'clock, a big section of wire came down, probably because of wind and a tree limb.
Chris Riley with Norwich Public Utilities says crews were out there for several hours to get the power back on.
It's a very complex issue to get the wires untangled, reinstalled, fix the equipment that may have been damaged, and to re-energize that lines. Very complex, very dangerous work. We've got to do it safely and carefully, and we hope that people understand that we're working as quickly as we can.
While they did have some worries,
the concern we have is that the wind is going to pick up in the next several hours, and if it does, that's going to make the work more problematic.
Riley says they made sure they were prepared for the weather.
We've been meeting about this throughout the day. We had some meetings yesterday, a lot of information being shared. We have a good track record in restoring power when there are large-scale outages, and we're confident we'll be able to meet the challenge again tonight.
Riley says they will continue to watch the weather closely and remain prepared to respond to any issues that may occur. He says if you see a downed power line, do not go near it, but instead call 911. In Norwich, Kayla Cade, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Well, the lights are back on in the capital city after critical portions of downtown were plunged into darkness early yesterday morning, including us here at Fox 61. Matt Karen has more now on the cause and the impact of that outage.
Well, behind me is where this outage all began. It's 55 Elm Street, the former state office building. The Attorney General and the Secretary of the State used to be located here. They've since moved out, and it's been under construction and will soon be transitioned into residential apartments. It was 3:30 a.m. when Hartford firefighters got the call for billowing smoke and an explosion. At the height of the outage, about 9,200 Eversource customers in the capital city were in the dark. The outage impacted critical infrastructure like Hartford Hospital, the state capitol, the legislative office building, Hartford Superior Court, and the State Emergency Management Operations Center. Emergency crews traced the problem to 55 Elm Street. In a statement, Eversource says, "It appears there was an issue with customer-owned underground electric equipment on Elm Street which damaged our equipment. Firefighters described it as a fire inside an underground electrical vault, which contains a large transformer. Firefighters had to wait until Eversource disconnected power before it was safe to put it out."
Because of the nature of PCBs, typically within these types of transformers, it is an underground vault. Limited visibility. We had to make sure that the power was disconnected, so we waited for Eversource to come kind of disconnect the power so we can go in. We used dry chemicals just to extinguish what visible flame that we saw at the time.
And although it wasn't exactly specified what caused the explosion and the outage, the fire department told me Eversource had to cut off and isolate power here at 55 Elm Street from the rest of the grid before they could re-energize the lines and bring power back online. They say everybody is working together to make sure this doesn't happen again in other parts of the city. Reporting in Hartford, Matt Karen, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Matt, yeah, that is the hope. Thanks so much. Well, the power outage also impacted operations at essential businesses like Hartford Hospital. The power there was out for hours and hospital staff had to act quickly to keep things running and keep patients safe. Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc has that story from Hartford Hospital.
The theme here at Hartford Hospital seems to be no power, no problem. Though some operations were impacted here, the staff says they did what they needed to do to keep things running.
I was surprised when I first came to work.
An early morning underground electrical fire traced back to Elm Street in the capital city impacted operations right here at Hartford Hospital.
I work in the OR room. I'm in the surgery room. I help the patients onto their bed and make sure their room is clean.
Shaquille Ricketts says after the power went out at around 4 a.m., the generator kicked in and kept most of the lights on. But some parts of the hospital were still in the dark. He says he and his coworkers sat on standby for hours, waiting to get back to work.
The patients are all right. Where the patients are, they have electricity, they have light. It's just where we are, like our work spots, we don't have any lights.
Still, essential operations inside the hospital continued as they worked to keep patients and hospital staff safe. The Hartford Healthcare Communications team sent out a statement during the outage, saying it impacted both feeders running to their business. They went on to say, quote, while most essential clinical functions are running, there are limitations like non-functioning elevators, garage gates, and public spaces. We continue to assess the situation. Hospital operations are currently operating normally, and care to our patients is not affected.
An impact is an impact to me. Everything counts, so.
Caregiver Alexis Asbury showed up to the hospital for work on Wednesday morning after the outage came about.
All I was thinking about, I hope the patients are okay, because there's a lot of people that need like life support and all that, like the machines.
And though some employees were surprised at how quickly one event can affect their jobs, they knew they had to stick it out.
They can't believe what's happening, but we're okay though. It's all right.
Now, hospital staff members say any patient who may have had a surgery that needed to be rescheduled was contacted. We are in Hartford. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.